Oh, really good edge case scenario. We've got roadworks here where they close down the road with a little portable traffic light. Let's see, stop here on red signal. I think it's going to go through. I don't think it's going to stop. Okay, I'm ready. Please stop, because it's a one-way road. Please stop, it's edging. Stop edging, stop, yep. Okay, this is incredible. I think the other cars are going to get the green light and they're going to go, is this seriously going to work? How does it even know that's not even a normal light? Okay, the truck got the red. Okay, which means we're about to get the green. Even when we get the green here, look at this road. There is no markings. We're getting completely diverted with cement barriers far out. Let's see what happens. Oh my God, okay. It's going. Okay, oh geez. Oh my God, are you serious? No way. Okay, now stay on the left-hand side of the road. Come on. Holy crap. I think that guy was just spun out. I keep swearing. Oh my God. I cannot believe that just worked. Wow. Okay, that is my first edge case encounter. That aced my expectation. Holy. What?
Watching the reactions of these Aussies to FSD has been super enjoyable, and really that situation was not typical, and FSD handled it incredibly well.
I know it was only about... Oh. There's a car incoming, quite narrow road, switching a little bit to the left. Oh, there's a small bump coming along here that a lot of people make mistake. It's fine. We have a pedestrian, none, all good. All right, coming towards a quite difficult roundabout because this roundabout gets very, very busy. All right, is it going to stop? You gotta stop, buddy. Yes, yes. Oh my God, oh, yeah. Oh, my car, Olaf, is driving by himself. This is unreal.
Now, I know it's been a heavy week for a lot of us, and I'm not a fan of burying our heads in the sand, but I was refreshed seeing some of these reactions to Tesla's life-saving tech, and it helped me spend some time focusing on the bright parts of our future that Tesla is building. Really thinking through sustainable abundance and much safer streets and what Optimus could unlock. I just hope that vision can encourage some of you as well, and that we never lose that sense of childlike awe and wonder for some of the tech breakthroughs we get to see in our lifetimes that Elon is driving. So yeah, I'm just thankful to be documenting all of these stories, and I'm super grateful for all of you that tune in day after day. And to top it all off, we had people like Adam Jonas sharing a story of a recent road trip where he was actually in a hardware 3 vehicle using FSD version 12.6. But he said FSD made no mistakes or close calls that he can remember. The system handles highways very safely and confidently. I cannot imagine buying another EV without FSD. It's a game changer. The tech changes how I think about long distance road travel. It was a 1,400-mile round trip for Adam, and he said having your hands off the wheel and feet off the pedals for nearly 12 hours of driving is a real game changer that's hard to appreciate without experiencing it for yourself. I'm not exaggerating when I say FSD did over 99% of the miles. Then he also shared he just bought a new 2026 Model Y to replace his, which was a 2021 variant. He said the improvements in the car's design, materials, finish, suspension, and ride are very noticeable, as are the material improvements in FSD, now with version 13, and of course AI4. He went on about how he loved the new Grok native integration, and he raved about how easy the Tesla buying experience was, concluding with, I forgot how easy the process of buying and releasing a Tesla is. It was easier than buying a bicycle. So yet another is converted with the butts in seats argument. So many people today talk about things that they know nothing about, which frustrates me to my core, especially this week. week. But I say this because it's a slept-on narrative for Tesla's robotaxi rollout. Just think about how many people that have never experienced a Tesla will get to for the first time in the next 2 to 3 years, thanks to robotaxi and ride-hail. A lot of people are going to have this Adam Jonas type awakening in the years ahead, and that will of course mean great things for Tesla. There's a story being overlooked in California right now when it comes to battery storage. This program, Demand Side Grid Support, we'll call it DSGS, which is a statewide program, is now in jeopardy because Gavin Newsom's office is set to cut the funding. This 535 megawatt fleet of household battery storage systems, including Tesla Powerwalls, has already been proven and tested to visibly reduce the load of the grid. An industry analyst said, "I think sometimes when people think about VPPs, they still think of them as pilots, or just kind of this little activity that's happening on the side, but that's not really impacting the grid. But if we're talking about a gigawatt resource, that is a significant scale." And just know this up to 700 megawatt resource has come together in a very short amount of time, under 3 years. And when you compare that to getting gas turbines online today with all of the delays and interconnection queues, it's hard to build large resources that fast. DSGS was implemented in 2022, and this plan compensates customers for discharging stored energy from domestic and commercial batteries during peak demand or grid stress. They said, "We've enrolled over 50,000 customers this year, but there are plenty more. It's really just the tip of the iceberg." And we see these kinds of grid edge batteries all over the state. Sunrun installs a battery with nearly every solar system we install, and most of those batteries are Tesla's Powerwall 3. DSGS is the largest VPP in the country and probably the world, so it would be a real shame for California to step away from that leadership role. They're saying the June budget that passed basically leaves enough money for the DSGS program to run this year through the 2025 season, which ends in October. So they've basically said there will not be enough money to run this program at scale next year. So this program, which would give up to $150 to each customer per battery event, was actually what enabled certain aggregators like Sunrun and Tesla to actually dispatch 700 megawatts of capacity. But this program was incentive driven. Participants only enrolled in it to actually use their batteries for the grid because they got something in return for it. Obviously, they should be compensated for things like battery degradation and then having less energy to use themselves. So why is Newsom's office cutting the funding for this program? Well, it's pretty simple, because they're experiencing a chronic budget shortfall. So it's just an unfortunate situation, really. The program has been overwhelmingly successful. It's been growing quickly. It's increased the reliability of the grid. It's reduced pollution and blackouts, but the future is now in jeopardy as the government funding may run out before this program reaches maturity and a self-sustaining operation. Now, there are groups out there that are pushing for budget changes and reversals to keep this program intact, but we'll see how it unfolds. Another unfortunate development in the battery storage world, you may have heard of the firm Natron Energy that was focused on manufacturing sodium-ion batteries here in the US. And now the company is saying it has effectively ceased operations. In short, the company came up against the challenges of competing with lithium-ion batteries and specifically LFP. As we've covered, the prices for LFP batteries have continually come down, and they've improved certain metrics on the energy density side as well as the overall cycle life. And look, Tesla has proven they know what they're doing. There's a reason they're building a new LFP battery factory, not a new sodium-ion one. Today, sodium-ion cells may be leaps and bounds better from a cycle life perspective, but if they're lagging everywhere else, then that's just not enough. So, Natron Energy, now a thing of the past. I hope most of you would agree that I try to be valuable without fluff, and I don't just post videos to grow my business. I only post when there's something substantial to talk about. And along those lines, it's the same goal here. If you want to save a lot of time and frustration while consuming breaking news, I can't advocate enough for Ground News, the sponsor of this video. So here's a quick walkthrough of the platform and some of the features I find most helpful and what I do on a morning like today. First, I'll check what's trending up top. Yes, I'm a big NFL fan, so within one click, I can see all of the top NFL stories, and a lot of times I don't see these stories anywhere else. But right here is the reason this platform saves me a ton of time. For any particular story, this one there's 259 articles. I can actually filter by only articles that have very high factuality, meaning I'll avoid all of the fluff pieces. And from here, I can see all of the sources that have the most data, and then I'll find one that is center leaning, so no political lean left or right. And if I want to read more than the synopsis shared here, within one click, I can go direct to that article. After seeing what's up with breaking news, I'll go to my For You tab that I have customized, and you'll see AI, business, Elon, Neuralink, SpaceX, tech, and of course, Tesla. So all news stories related to these topics will be shared right here on my For You tab. And then during times of turmoil, like this week when the political tensions are high, I'll go to the blind spot tab. So right here within seconds, I can see what stories are being underreported on by either side of the political aisle. So not only is Ground News an awesome news aggregator, but it exposes any political lean of every source. So you can be on high alert for any narrative pushing. And all of these comments are from you guys unprompted, just Electrified community members enjoying the Ground News platform. So if you'd like to support Electrified to ensure I can keep running the channel, it's ground.news/electrified linked below, or you can use the QR code on the screen for that 40% off the Vantage plan. One to watch, Trump said subject to SEC approval, companies should no longer be forced to report on a quarterly basis, but rather on a 6-month basis. That change would certainly be beneficial to Tesla. They would have to spend less time putting these reports together every 3 months. I'm sure Elon would love it because he's told us how many times now that quarterly reports are always way overemphasized. But the downside is for all of us investors and superfans that love to get any detail on the company we can, that would not be a great thing for us. There are no guarantees this actually changes, but certainly something to keep in mind. Truthfully, I'm torn on this one. On one hand, I'm the guy that amplifies Elon's message about quarterly reports being insignificant to the long-term thesis, and I do think they get blown out of proportion. But on the other hand, I do love getting a peek behind the curtain into Tesla's business every 3 months, and having to wait 6 months would be a bummer, at least from a selfish perspective. You could also argue the derivative volatility would increase, moving it to every 6 months, as the reports would then carry greater significance and the buildup would be amplified. But for long-term investors, it probably would eliminate some non-zero level of noise. So there's certainly pros and cons, but I would be curious what you guys think. Over the past week, Tesla stock has had a breakout of sorts, and we learned that at least part of that was Elon buying nearly $1 billion of Tesla stock. The purchases happened on Friday, and I'll just say, if any of you were struggling to believe that Elon is still confident in where Tesla was headed the next few years, this news really should erase all of those doubts, and I think the context around this will prove it. As I said on X, this was not some prearranged 10b5-1 plan. It was an open market discretionary purchase. Elon bought shares between $371 and $396 per share, buying about 2.5 million shares, which is where you get the total of nearly $1 billion. Yes, with a B. The last time Elon did something like this was back in 2020 and prior, and then it was only to the tune of between $10 and $20 million. So what Elon just did Friday is on an entirely different scale. We're talking orders of magnitude greater. As far as information that's readily available online, this is the biggest insider stock purchase on the open market in US history. And again, it is so by an order of magnitude. And now I will say there's a lot of chatter out there that Elon did this just to have extra voting rights, and that certainly may be true to a degree, but when you zoom out and look at the numbers, it's really not going to move the needle that much. With this purchase on Friday, Elon added about 2.5 million shares, which takes his total to roughly 413 million. So an additional 2.5 million shares is less than 1% of what he already owns. And don't forget that bridge incentive plan for about $30 billion. That includes 96 million shares, which would take Elon's total to about 509 million. So I get why everybody's talking about voting. It certainly makes sense because the date of record to have your shares eligible for voting at the upcoming meeting later this year in November, you had to be a holder as of September 15th. So yes, Elon buying on September 12th would be beating the buzzer and buying them before that deadline. And remember, all of the voting this year is going to fall under the Texas Business Organizations Code. And as far as I can tell, Elon should be fully able to vote all of his shares for most of, if not all, of the proposals on November 6th, including his upcoming compensation plan. Now, I will say there is a world where Elon may recuse himself voluntarily just to look like he's disinterested and not to have any conflict of interest problems like Tesla had in Delaware. But the good news this time, Tesla has laid out in painstaking detail everything needed in the proxy, all of the conflicts of interest, all of the interested parties, and how everything was set up. So Elon is likely to vote his roughly 13 to 15% of Tesla stock that he currently owns at the upcoming meeting. And the reason I say up to 15% is because my understanding from the Texas Business Organizations Code is that those 96 million shares from that bridge incentive plan will be eligible for Elon to vote. That's because restricted stockholders are record owners from the grant date, and they typically have full voting rights during that restriction period. But the far more important takeaway here is that Elon is absolutely hyper bullish on Tesla and Tesla stock going forward, even at share prices around $400. Now, it's very tempting to say Elon knows something that we don't, which to some degree is of course true, but many cynics will start taking that and talking about insider trading. I'm not going to be surprised one bit if sometime later this year or early next year some activist group alleges insider trading here because their short position got smoked or they were waiting to buy a dip that never materialized. But Elon doing this on the open market has me thinking he's very confident he's protected from any accusations like that, and that there's enough public information out there about what's coming that Elon's not acting on any non-material public information. Again, it's just that he's super bullish on actually executing the very public Tesla roadmap. And I just find it very fitting that earlier this month we also learned that Mary Barra has sold 40% of her personal stock of GM. But listen, as I always say, insider selling does not always have to signal negative things ahead for the company. It could be profit taking, it could be personal matters, but either way, I did think this was a pretty interesting sign of the times. I'm very thankful Warren Redlick posted this. He said, Elon's post about "you'll thank me later" is not about buying stock, it's about SpaceX. Elon replied to that saying, correct, and I think many people were overlooking that every word was capitalized. And if you haven't been paying attention, that is a SpaceX naming strategy. But that does not mean we won't be thanking Elon later for Tesla stuff. Elon said Tesla up $69 to $420 as foretold in the prophecy. And Gregor Truck said Elon's tweeting about the stock, he's buying the stock, daddy's home, Tesla's back. To which we got an awesome response from Elon. He said daddy is very much home. Am burning the midnight oil with Optimus Engineering on Friday night, then red eye overnight to Austin arriving 5 a.m., wake up to have lunch with kids, and then spend all Saturday afternoon in deep technical reviews for the Tesla AI 5 chip design. Fly to Colossus 2 on Monday to walk the whole data center floor, review transformers and power production, excellent progress, depart midnight. Then up to 12 hours of back-to-back meetings across all Tesla departments, but particular focus on AI and autopilot, Optimus production plans, and vehicle production and delivery. And that's just a few day microcosm of the life of Elon. But as we said, with the new incentive structure set to be in place later this year, Elon is now on the clock with all of these milestones to be hit in the next 10 years. We know the past few years have been challenging for many Tesla shareholders, not just because of the stock price action, but because of the Twitter acquisition, and Elon's political endeavors, and Doge, and the formation of XAI, and no incentive structure being in place for Elon at Tesla. All things that took Elon's focus away from Tesla and left many fans disillusioned. But this season is exactly what Tesla investors have been waiting for now for years. A new pay package is ready, Elon's political involvement is trending toward zero. Outside of posts on X, the X platform itself is now largely self-sustaining with a team in place. It's a similar situation at XAI, at least relative to what was required of Elon in the very early days, and all of these factors converging now have Elon as focused and motivated to push Tesla forward as he has been in years. And if you know Elon, you know what that means for the next 5+ years. I believe it's going to be a special time watching this story unfold. There was a report that Tesla is planning to raise production at Giga Berlin for the rest of this year due to strong sales. They said, "We currently have very good sales figures and have therefore revised our production plans for the third and fourth quarters upwards." They said, "We supply well over 30 markets and definitely see a positive trend here." Now, at least part of this will be Tesla now exporting vehicles from Berlin to Canada, and part of it will be the fact that right now only Giga Berlin is making the Model Y Performance. And it's also true Giga Berlin's been operating below the nameplate capacity now for some time, but either way, it's encouraging to see. In Austin, Tesla's robotaxi service previously operated from 6 a.m. to midnight, but now it's been extended to run until 2 a.m. So now operations are only closed for 4 hours from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. And yes, this change took effect in the Bay Area as well. This is directly related to the tax credit going away, but for the month of August, Americans bought more EVs than ever before, making up 9.9% of all new cars sold. I will say, I fear that number is going to plummet in Q4 unless Tesla's more affordable models can really carry the US market. So unfortunately, I think EV sales in the US for the next few quarters could be pretty bleak. Some Powerwall 2 owners in Australia are getting messages that Tesla has identified a battery cell defect from a third-party supplier affecting a subset of Powerwall 2 units. This does not affect Powerwall 3, and all affected units are being replaced under warranty at no cost to the customer. Nearly all affected units in Australia have been discharged remotely, rendering them safe. So just an FYI for any Powerwall 2 owners down under. And although this is unfortunate, I do find it nice that Tesla can actually diagnose this remotely. This video of a robot lab in Shenzhen, China was shared, which demonstrated some very impressive capabilities of this robot falling over and getting back up incredibly quickly. Then Elon replied to that saying Optimus is twice the weight and almost impossible to knock over, which again, based on that most recent video of Optimus that Mark Benioff shared, would not be your takeaway. But as we talked about at length, that was not the most up-to-date version of Optimus, aka it was not version 3. So almost impossible to knock over would mean the balance control is on a different level. Maybe we get a demo, maybe we don't, because Tesla wants to start being more secretive, but it's very safe to say what Tesla has behind closed doors is much more advanced than anything we have seen from them. Tesla now has a new third warranty, if you will, this one for 2026 model year vehicles right now in the US and Canada. It's for the sexy lineup right now. It does not include Cybertruck. This one is for high-priced propulsion-related part warranty. This will be a separate warranty adding 7 years or 70,000 miles on certain parts. This will primarily cover components from the power control unit, aka the things that enable you to fast charge and slow charge your vehicle. And remember two things with the Cybertruck. Number one, it's 800 volts, so different than the rest of the Tesla lineup. And number two, they don't have a lot of long-term data on that vehicle. So Tesla's probably not comfortable offering a third warranty like this. So Tesla now offers the basic vehicle limited warranty, 4 years or 50,000 miles, the battery and drive unit limited warranty, which is the 8 years or 100 to 150,000 miles. And yes, I know these numbers vary depending on specific model and year. And now this one is the third warranty that does overlap with the basic and the battery and drive warranties, but provides extra dedicated coverage for the listed parts. A new study was done, and the takeaway: gigacasting technology reduces vehicle production costs for automakers while also lowering repair expenses for consumers and insurers. This according to a 2-year study on crash testing and damage assessment by a UK-based firm. They said the fact you can section the vulnerable bits of the casting, and Tesla has a specific repair item that wedges in and bolts through to address the issue of one large unit, that's the sort of stuff that really makes a difference. Now, you may remember last year I did a quick segment on this because we had an Electrified community member send in some photos from his experience with a shop here in North America. And he told us that because of the modularity of the gigacasting and how there are certain parts that break off and are much easier to actually replace rather than having to replace the entire thing, that made the repair process, especially for low speed accidents, much easier. So it's nice to have that confirmed, and they said the analysis revealed gigacasting lowers repair costs in both partial and full replacement scenarios compared to traditional multi-piece steel structures. Now, I know many of you are like me and thinking that insurance for Teslas is still too high because of all of the tech in the vehicles, but as they like to say, it could always be worse if Tesla wasn't working on solutions like this. We got the weekly number for Tesla China. It came in at 15,350 compared to the same week in Q2. That was 15,500. So quarter over quarter, Tesla China up 34.6%, and year over year, Tesla China is now down 11%. Zooming out, looking at the year to date numbers, Tesla China is down 6.8%. The breakdown for the week: 4,860 Model 3, 10,490 Model Y. Of that Model Y number, 1,030 were the Model Y L, which was up from 900 the week before, and we should expect that number to continually increase as production ramps. Tesla has a new career posted: senior software engineer for robotaxi and core services engineering. They said, "We're looking for a highly motivated engineer specializing in back-end and distributed systems to build robotaxi pricing estimations, calculate final bills, and the billing workflow orchestration across all markets. Your work will be visible to customers via Tesla's main website and the robotaxi mobile application." And it says you'll explore how AI agentic applications can assist in creating a better user experience. And yes, robotaxi pricing estimations across all markets is a sign of scaling to come. There was a post out there circulating that Tesla was going to have a companion in the Tesla vehicles later this year, but Elon responded to that saying not true. The mayor today announced the San Francisco airport has signed a testing and operations pilot permit for autonomous vehicles with Waymo, which allows the company to begin operating at the airport. Operations will be rolled out in 3 phases, including testing the vehicles with a human driver, testing without a human driver with Waymo and airport employees, and eventually beginning commercial operations. So it would make sense that when the time comes, Tesla will follow a similar cadence. Back in March, the mayor gave Waymo the green light to conduct digital mapping of the airport roadways. But of course, that mapping is not a step that Tesla would need to do. They said this permit allows Waymo to access portions of the airport to test and pilot operations on designated roads. The only other thing they shared: the pilot permit follows a comprehensive review process, including safety protocols and data reporting requirements. Under the terms of the agreement, Waymo will operate within strict safety and reporting conditions to ensure dependable service for trips to and from SFO. And as we covered last week, something similar should be coming for Tesla here in the weeks ahead, as Tesla has initiated talks to be given access at SFO and to other airports. Rivian is finally breaking ground on its new $5 billion plant in Georgia today. Rivian has said the Georgia factory will be able to make 200,000 vehicles per year starting in 2028. Then it plans another 200,000 in capacity in phase 2, but that is of course a big leap from the 40 to 46,000 vehicles Rivian expects to deliver this year. Today, NHTSA said it's evaluating evaluating Tesla's electrically powered doors becoming inoperative on the 2021 Model Y. They said about 174,000 vehicles are covered, and this investigation will also assess the approach used by Tesla to supply power to the door locks and the reliability of the applicable power supplies. The agency is specifically zeroing in on the issue of doors becoming inoperative due to insufficient power supply from low voltage batteries. In several cases, parents told the regulator they were unable to reopen the doors of their Tesla to get their child from the back seat. And this week we just talked about make sure you know where your manual door release is, but that's if you're inside the vehicle. And NHTSA said for now, it's focusing on the operability of the electric door locks from outside the vehicle, since there's no way to manually open Tesla vehicle doors in that circumstance. And yes, you can go the wiring through the tow hitch route to jumpstart the low voltage battery, but for a lot of people, if they're stranded, that's not always a viable option. And today, Uber Freight announced a new dedicated EV fleet accelerator program in partnership with Tesla. They said EVs offer a smart option for fleets, benefiting the environment and customers alike by delivering a lower cost, quieter, and more efficient solution, all while diversifying fleet operations, expanding their fleet's business, and increasing capacity for shippers. But for many fleets, the upfront investment and infrastructure hurdles remain significant barriers to adoption. This new partnership with Tesla is a first of its kind buyers program designed to make electric freight more affordable and accessible by addressing key adoption barriers. With this initiative, Uber Freight aims to accelerate the adoption of EVs across supply chains, making the journey to a zero-emission future more achievable than ever. The shift toward electric Class 8 trucks is gaining momentum due to the demonstrated benefits of total cost of ownership, but most electric trucks still cost more upfront than conventional diesel trucks, and this price gap is the primary barrier to widespread adoption, even as EV transportation becomes an increasing priority for shippers and carriers. The feedback has been consistent. While there's enthusiasm around new technology and long-term efficiencies, concerns about upfront costs and financial risk remain high. Fleets are also closely watching the build-out of charging infrastructure and how it aligns with route planning. As Tesla expands its semi-charger network, Uber Freight is designing dedicated routes around available infrastructure to help fleets adopt EVs more practically. This program will provide fleets with a subsidized entry point into electrification, paired with reliable demand from our dedicated freight network. It starts with solving for the biggest obstacles facing EV adoption: upfront cost, predictability, and ROI. Basically, these fleets purchase Tesla semis through this program, and they'll receive a subsidy on the purchase price. The fleets will integrate their Tesla semis into Uber Freight's dedicated solutions for shippers for a predetermined period. This creates an opportunity for carriers to forecast revenue with confidence while shippers gain consistent access to reliable zero-emission capacity. Uber Freight taps into its extensive freight network to match carriers with consistent, high-quality freight from our strong shipper base, helping ensure the addition of these Tesla semis stay fully utilized and carriers see dedicated, real, measurable returns from the start. And for Tesla, participating fleets can schedule dedicated sessions with Tesla to review technical details and the total cost of ownership assumptions specific to the fleet's operational profile. With reduced pricing, fleets will start seeing savings from avoided diesel fuel and reduced maintenance costs from day one. So in effect, what this will do, it'll lower the upfront costs for the Tesla Semi, it'll secure a revenue stream over a multi-year period with dedicated contracts, it'll future-proof their fleets by diversifying with ZEV assets, and it will provide access to Uber Freight's network of shippers demanding EV transport options. So basically, Uber Freight handles the heavy lifting, finding ongoing demand for dedicated EV capacity, so the fleets can focus on their own business models. They said the Tesla Semi offers a best-in-class combination of battery range, up to 500 miles, rapid charging, up to 1.2 megawatts, and strong payload capabilities, 45 to 47,000 pounds, at a projected lower TCO than diesel. diesel. They said diesel trucks average 6 to 8 miles per gallon, with fuel often exceeding $4 per gallon. Electric Class 8 trucks operate at a significantly lower cost per mile. Charging is estimated at just 20 to 30% of the diesel equivalent, leading to thousands in annual savings. They touched on lower maintenance and how studies suggest EVs can cut maintenance costs by up to 40% compared to diesel trucks. And before launching this program at scale, Uber Freight partnered with a select group of carriers to pilot this program using Tesla semis, and it helped validate the program structure and gather key learnings. During the 2-month pilot, the Tesla semis showcased both reliability and efficiency for Uber Freight's shipper network. Over 394 hours of drive time, carriers covered 12,300 miles, with an average net energy consumption of just 1.72 kilowatt hours per mile and only 60 hours of total charge time. These results highlight the operational viability of Tesla semis on demanding freight lanes. One company said, "Running electric trucks in Northern California was new territory for us, but the cost savings quickly became clear. With Uber Freight's support and partnership, we had the confidence to invest in our fleet's long-term performance." So a pretty awesome program, although we don't have many specifics when it comes to numbers and how many semis will ultimately be bought. But in short, what we have here is Uber Freight deciding to directly subsidize the purchase price of Tesla semis for participating fleets. And as we've talked about for the past few years, the Tesla semi on its own without any subsidies will likely win by far from a TCO perspective. But as the charging network gets built out and as trust in electric semis builds over the next few years, this program will help to get that off the ground. And one thing that might go overlooked is how this partnership will help with Tesla's semi-charger network and the utilization of the early days. The fleets in Uber Freight have specific routes that they use, so any Tesla semis in this program will be running the same routes, which should boost the semi-charger infrastructure utilization in the early days. And just looking into the Uber Freight network, they handle about 18 million shipments per year, and the most recent official data I could find from a few years back was they had over 50,000 carriers and more than 500,000 trucks. But I'm pretty sure that has grown substantially in just the past few years. So overall, this should serve as a really nice accelerant for the Tesla semi rollout. Tesla stock closed the day at $421.62, up 2.82%, while the NDX was down 0.08%. The volume was 23% above the average. Don't forget, check out Ground News linked below, grab that 40% off for those interested, and as always, thank you for supporting the channel in that way. Hope you have a wonderful day. Please like the video if you did. You can find me on X linked below, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.